Hey everyone, welcome back to Alchemy with Zero Phase. This is Eric. In this video, I wanted to go through my interface and settings. The video I did last night seems to have brought up some questions regarding like optimizations, how do you make your interface load so fast, that kind of thing. So what I wanted to do is just step by step, we're going to go through what I do for my settings to help my interface load faster, help my workflow, and in general just some basic optimizations that I think should help everybody. First thing I want to go through are the command line options, which I kind of went through in the last video, but there's a few things that, somebody asked, why is your interface load so fast? And so there's a few different things regarding this. If it's possible, try to install automatic 1111 so it runs from a solid state drive. Basic SSD is great. If you can get NVMe, even better. It just overall, solid state helps everything. I'm not kidding. Okay, I'm an IT expert. I run an IT business, and when I replace computers or sell somebody a computer, I never sell anybody a computer that has a platter drive or standard mechanical drive as its primary system drive. Now, it's okay to have that as your data storage drive. That's fine. But if you're looking for speed, get solid state. Okay. In my system, I run Stable Diffusion from just a standard SSD. I've got a 4 terabyte Samsung SSD. I love Samsungs. They are a little bit more expensive, but not too bad. I think reliability-wise, they're good, but Western Digitals are great. Okay. The other thing you want to, so when it comes to the actual loading, so I'm using Stability Matrix. It allows me to organize my installs. It also, recently they've introduced the ability to manage your extensions as well. It's just a great interface for kind of centrally managing everything. Makes things easier. Okay. They've done a lot of improvements stability-wise. I know it's the name, but like I said, being able to manage your extensions, I think they're also, so you can share models. So you have one directory where all your models are stored, and it shares those between the different installs. Okay. So, just from a management perspective, Stability Matrix, I think, works really well. If you don't want to use it, that's totally fine. Okay. This doesn't really necessarily, what I'm going to tell you in this doesn't necessarily, it's not specific to Stability Matrix, okay? So going back to the command line, we're going to jump in here. So in your web UI user.bat file, if you're on Windows or others, you're going to have a command line. Okay? And in the last video I did, we talked about how to optimize it for people with RTX cards, okay? But when it comes to like just being able to load quicker, okay, the couple of options here that you can put on your command line is the skip torch CUDA test and the skip Python version check. Okay, if your web UI is running fine, it loads, you're not getting any errors. You don't really need these right now, not unless you got to do some updates or whatever. Even then, you can run those updates manually. This just lets you know if you have an older version or if there's a newer version. Okay, so take those in mind. That'll help cut down on what you're having to load at the beginning. Another thing that'll slow your interface down a little bit is if you have a a bunch of LoRa's or something. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's like the TIs, the textual inversions and stuff like that. It tends to hit those and just kind of index them first. I don't think I'm running any TIs. I do have some LoRa's, but it doesn't do anything with those necessarily. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Okay. So next thing, so those are the things you'd want on your command line. Now, that's what I use. And again, I feel that the load times on that are pretty quick. Okay. Because, again, I'm using solid state, whatever. Now, again, if you can just put the web UI software on a solid state, then you can go into your settings. And this is the next part that we're going to go into is changing your paths. Okay. You don't need to keep using the output directory under the web UI folder. Okay, if you can run your web UI from a solid state, and then you can put all your image folders on a regular platter drive, okay, regular mechanical drive if you need to. If you don't have the money for a larger one, because I do know that this takes up a lot of space, you can do that. Okay. So really in this here, when it looks like this, what it's doing is saying use the root of the web UI folder. We're going to use the outputs folder, and then under that we're going to create another folder called text to image dash images. Okay, so if you want to put it somewhere else, you're going to need to put the full path. So for example, d:\outputs / text image dash images. Okay, that way it just stores those in another location. And actually for management purposes, that might be better anyway. So you're not going to drill down into the web UI folder. That's just by default how they have it set up. You may have a picture folder where you want to store everything. Okay, and for like maybe you have some software to manage your images better, whatever. Okay, so let's go into let's go to the next one, saving. So couple things. You can change the file format from, I think the default's PNG. But for mine, I have it set to JPEG most of the time. Okay, the only time I switch it over to PNG is if I am going to be doing something that involves removing the background and creating transparencies. Okay, that's, you know, PNGs are lossless compression. JPEGs, you will get some artifacting if your compression is set down if you set the quality down low enough. And I'll show you that too. Okay. For organization purposes, I have my file names. I know by default it stores like part of the prompt. And that's fine if you want that. I don't find it necessary, and honestly, it's just cluttered looking. I like to set mine as the date and date time stamp. Okay. Allows me to do quick searches by date, and then I'll show you here in the directories. I also set the directory to be just the date, so the month, day, year that I created it. So any images I generate today go in one folder, but then it's organized by date and time on the images. Okay. Now you ask, well, how do you find images if you're, looking for a specific like term or whatever you used in that image? And that comes in a little later. We'll go into the image browser that I think comes by default now. I'm not sure. If not, I'll show you the extension you can get. Okay. I think it's an extension. I think there's a default image browser that comes with this. Maybe they integrated this. I don't remember. We'll get into that. Okay. Let's come down here. I don't think I changed much of anything else down here other than the quality for the JPEG. I usually leave it 90%. You can change that. I think anything between like 75-ish, 80 to 90 is great. You get decent compression on it. It's not going to eat up a lot of hard drive space, and you get good quality. So it's something you can still work with if you want to upscale or in Paint. Okay. Okay, so let's go into saving the directory again. I'm just saving by date. Okay. Again, for organizational purposes, I find it just messy looking if I've got this plus the prompt and the directory name. And it also makes for extremely long directory names. Again, just messy. Okay. So I do that. Go to the wiki. There's lots of different ways you can format this. Maybe there's something that works out better for you. Okay, and you're just putting in these variables as, they're square brackets with the variable name in the middle. And then you can put like a dash and then another variable name or whatever. Okay. Let's see. Let's jump into optimizations. Let's see. Automatic. Maybe not. Let's see. Hold on. Sampling parameters. Sorry. Okay, so one of the things I do to really optimize my interface is eliminate the things I don't want to see. Okay, so under sampling parameters, they got a ton of samplers, and honestly, I don't use them all. Okay, when you're under your text image and you go to your samplers under, say, like under sampling method right here, I got to reload my interface because I removed a bunch of them, but I only use one or the other. In fact, let's just do that right now so I can show you let's see, let's just reload this because I think I did. reload my back end on it here. So let's just see what that shows. Just want to make sure. No, I got to reload the back end. So let's cancel this. I love this because you can stop and launch. And yes, this one is version 1.7. I did finally move over to it, and it's actually really nice. They got a lot of nice features they built in that were not in the 1.6 model version. So as you can see, it's going pretty quick, and then it jumps down here and will show the interface in there. It's loaded. So that was pretty quick. Okay, let's reload this. So you can see the menu options here. I was kind of experimenting with it, so let's see. Yeah, so it's just nicer when you don't have these huge menus you got to scroll through for things you never use. Okay, these are the ones I use primarily. Okay, and you know, I use it on mobile too, so having the shorter menus always helps. Okay. Let's jump back over here, run back down to sampling parameters. So yeah, just put a check mark in any one you don't want to see or ones that you don't use. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to jump down here to Stable Diffusion. And one of the things I do like to do that actually helps in my workflow, I don't like having to wait for models or checkpoints to load for long periods of time. So if I'm working with 3 to 4 particular checkpoints, you know, switching between them, like say an in-painting model and an SDXL model and a 1.5 model. And I got enough RAM. I got, in my particular system, I have 128 gigs of RAM. But I think you could do this with as little as like 32 gigs of RAM. Okay, this top option here, maximum number of checkpoints loaded at the same time. So you can scroll this up. I keep mine at 4. But also make sure that this is checked here. Only keep one model on device. Okay, so what that means is it'll only keep one model loaded on the video card, and then it'll use RAM to quickly swap out. It's a lot faster than even loading it from SSD if you have it loaded in RAM. So if you're switching between models, in fact, I can kind of show you here. I got Turbo Vision. I usually have Sahastra Kotai loaded as well. Because I reloaded the interface, it may take a second to kind of load it, but I'll show you what it looks like moving back and forth. Okay, so we have, give it a second to load that in. So it's having to reload this because I reloaded the back end. It usually doesn't take too long, but still, I don't like having to wait for this. Sorry, yeah, I know. This is what we all hate, right? Having to wait for these models to load. So again, that's what this setting does here. Okay, so it's finally loaded. Now we're going to go back to the Turbo Vision XL. But the particular one I'm using is the 4... Where to go? Turbo... There it is. Okay, so it's the Turbo Vision Super Fast XL based on new 431. This is actually a really nice one. So we're going to click that one, and because it was already loaded in memory, it shouldn't take too long. There it is. Switch back over. So that's a lot faster. That'll help speed things up for you and hopefully improve your workflow a little bit. So I don't really mess with much of anything else here. They have the setting here, just keep that at 0 because that's an older style. So if you're using CPU or GPU, obviously that's going to be set here. If you can use GPU, definitely. Okay. So when it comes to hiding other things here, let's see. I want to say in the user interface. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so in the user interface section, there is a couple different things. So you can load up specific tools. Actually, let's just stay on the subject of hiding things. So hide user interface tabs. Okay, so a lot of times we install tons of extensions. Okay, and then you get the bar up here with all your tabs, and it gets a little messy. And maybe there's some extensions that you like to have installed, but you're not using that often. Okay, down here under hidden UI tabs, you can actually select tabs you don't want to see. Okay. And then you can come back in here and unhide them if you're going to be using that tool. It just cleans up the interface, again, making it less cluttered and less eye strain and having to search for the things you do want. That's really the whole point, is optimization for your workflow or whatever workflow you're using at that particular time. Okay? Let's see, live preview. Let's jump down here. User interface. I don't really mess with anything else here. I don't think there's anything under system we need to touch on. All the defaults are pretty good with that. Let's see, face restoration and categorize. There was one other here. Let's see, live previews. Okay, so this is just something I like. I like being able to see what I'm rendering. Okay. You know, when you're rendering something and you're waiting for it to even show something, you're wasting a lot of time. If you're rendering something in the middle of your render, you realize this isn't what I want, you want to be able to interrupt it. Okay, a lot of you probably know about this, but I like to show the progress bar, show live preview, make sure it's a JPEG. It just helps speed things up. WebP, I'm not sure. I haven't tried WebP, but show previews. Of all images generated in a batch as a grid. So I'm not sure if I need that. But so I set the live preview display period to every 2 steps. Okay, and then the approximate NN, because it gives me a better preview of what's actually going on. Approximate cheap just gives you kind of a really low res version. TAESD, I tested for a little bit. It seems kind of like prox cheap. So I use prox NN, which gives a really good preview. Okay, of what you're rendering. And subject was just a prompt combined. So yeah, you can choose what the live preview is on, and then the progress bar will update every X amount of milliseconds. Right now it's 1,000 milliseconds, which is just 1 second. Okay, so we come over here, and just as kind of an example, let's just grab a prompt and throw something in here. I don't care. We're just going to grab some random stuff. Throw that in the text box so we have some prompts. The size, let's just set this at 16 by 9. We'll scale this up to, that's actually touches on another thing when it comes to workflow. I hate having to readjust these every time I load up. Okay, I think out of habit I still do. I keep forgetting sometimes that I have this config presets extension installed, and I've got some presets in here. You come in here and let's say you have a particular set of settings, so you just click that and it loads those settings. Okay, so we're gonna do 16 by 9. It already got that set, my sampler set, batch number, config scale, sampling steps, and saves a bunch of other stuff too. So, but for this particular, it doesn't change the model, so you have to switch the model, but that's okay. I think that's pretty natural to just leave that. They don't want to mess with that. So sampling steps, just so you can see the preview, because this renders pretty quick. I'm going to set this up to 40. We're on Euler, so it's just going to blow through this pretty quick. So we're just going to hit generate. Being able to see the preview is nice because, oh, you know, I don't like that. We're going to skip that one, move on to the next one. Okay, bam, jumps to the next one. Okay, yeah, I like that one better. It's a little closer. Whatever. Okay. Good night. This helps with your workflow when you can actually see what's being rendered. Okay, that one's not fully rendered, so come over here. That one is. That's such a great model. I love that model. So yeah, definitely set that if you can. It's nice, especially when you're doing large batches where you're trying to get something specific. Like if I'm rendering an image and I got text up in it, I don't want to wait until the image is done rendering before I see if the text is going to look good or not. You can see that in the preview and just skip it. Bam, bam, bam. Just skip right through it. Okay. Okay, so we're going to dive into one of the extensions here that I use. I get questions on a lot is the one that gives me this. Okay. This particular extension is called Aspect Ratio Helper. And I love it. I love being able to switch between common aspect ratios. Even allows you to put in your own custom aspect ratios. And the extension, and I can drop a link for this in the in the description below. Let's see, where is it? Aspect. There it is. So SD Web UI Aspect Ratio Helper. Okay, this is a link to it. I'll drop that into the description. I think this is one of the nicest extensions out there, and it's just kind of part of my standard tool set. The settings for that, if you come down here under your uncategorized, it'll give you access to some of your extensions that require settings. And so aspect ratio helper, click that, scroll back up, and you can actually put in custom aspect ratios. Actually, one of the ones I like is the 8.5 by 11. So sometimes I'm working with images that I would want to print out, okay, and I want it to fit the paper. So you do 8.5, 11, okay? Apply that setting, and next time you reload the interface, it will show up there. So again, this is a good extension. Oh, to show that little drop down, you have to have the enable JavaScript aspect ratio controls selected, okay? And then you can have a drop down method, default options button, or the ratios drop down. Okay. Great extension, definitely get it. One of the other extensions that I was talking about was the config presets. Okay, so let's go through some of the extensions that I use and that are more for just interface and workflow. Again, we talked about the config presets. I'll show you that extension here, and then the aspect ratio helper. I do have one called negative prompt weight. This is nice because it allows you to adjust how much of an effect your negative prompt has. You may want a negative prompt, but maybe what you're doing is really heavy-handed, so you can kind of scale it back a little bit, and it will reduce its overall effect, but still have a negative prompt there. It actually works really well. It's nice. So let's go into extensions here. Let's see, the config presets right here. We'll drop that link into the description below. Let's see, commands, loopback, scalar, no, multi-diffusion, canvas header. So aspect ratio helper, we'll drop that into. I think that's about the only ones that are really for workflow interface help. Negative prompt weight. Oh, there's the negative prompt weight right there. So I'll drop all three of those in the description. Okay. I think that's about it. I mean, there's obviously, everybody's going to have their own opinion and preferences, you know, when it comes to what they want in their interface and how it looks. I do like some of the changes. I would recommend upgrading to 1.7 on the web UI, or, you know, the automatic 11.11 interface. There are certain little things that were just annoying before, like the high-res fix and refiner drop-downs in 1.6 did not have these checkboxes. In order to enable them, you expanded it. Okay, that enabled it. But again, it just makes the interface harder to go through. So now you can just click the check. Okay, and you can see the settings. Okay, that's great. Maybe you want to go in, adjust the denoise strength or whatever. But then you can minimize it back up and enable and disable it however you want. Same with the refiner. Enable or disable it however you want without having to expand the accordion view. That was a nice little change. A little touch like that really does help with workflow. Okay, image browser. I'm going to go into the image browser just real quick before we end this video. So this is a different, I think this is different. Again, the default image browser that comes with Stable Diffusion, at least, or with the automatic 11.11, the original one, doesn't have a lot of these search features. Tagging and being able to rank the images makes it very nice to search. Okay, this is why I don't name my file names anymore. I use this. Okay, it allows me to do EXIF keyword search items. You know, you can type in things like, I don't know, I think I got some for battle. See what it pulls up, if any. Yeah, there we got some images that have battle in it. Okay, maybe you only want to see images where you use the word red. Okay, this allows you to search the entire prompt that was included in the your prompt that gets included in the file as part of the EXIF data. Maybe you want to see anything that has a man in it. And there you go. It is interesting. Some of these images show up female because that all depends on the model. Oh, and woman. You know, so it did a subcategory search. So you could probably filter some of that out. But anyway, so you get the idea. And it allows you to really, if you learn how to use this, you can organize things a little bit better. You can do a search for the file name. Maybe you do want to do a search for the date, and then only only want to search images within that date. So let's say everything that I did yesterday, 02, I think 02, 05, oops, 2024. Let's throw that in there so we get every image that I did yesterday. Okay, didn't do much. And then you can do sub searches within that. Okay. Oh no, I forgot. It's not showing all the images. So it breaks it down in pages of 6 by 6 because that's what it's set at right now. So you can actually scroll through the images that you did on that particular day. And then you can do sub searches within that. Cool, very cool image browser that gives you a lot more control over being able to search your images. And then you select an image, then you can actually click a button, it'll take you to that folder. You can see the folder location, all the general information around it. And it does have buttons for sending the information text, image, in Paint, and various other aspects, or even to the ControlNet number. So you can send it directly to ControlNet. Very cool extension. Okay, I think that's it. I appreciate you hanging out with me, going through this. I hope these tips help everybody, or those who, or at least you get something valuable out of this that may help your workflow, improve loading speeds, or just overall functionality. Okay, like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button below. Hit the like button. Send me your comments. Love to know any other tips, tricks. I'm always trying to learn this. And we'll talk to you all later.